Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, October the 26th. We got a little 5-game slate for Tuesday. As always guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each game on the slate, break down each team, and as we do that, as we go through each game, I will give out an early core, 5 guys that I do like at first look, 5 guys that do stand out to me looking at this slate on Monday night. Now as always, the core that I give out in this video is not set in stone. If you guys want more updated content from me, if you want to get my full updated core plays, I'm always making updated content. That's over on Patreon. You can check that out, link down below in the description. When it comes to a sport like NBA, there's always late breaking news. There always is, lineup changes. There's always late scratches. Maybe not early on in the season, but especially later in the season, you'll get a lot of late scratches. You've got to stay up to date with the news when it comes to NBA. So I do provide a lot more updated content on Patreon if you want to check that out. Link down below. But before we get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below, click that subscribe button as well, and comment. Let me know some of your favorite plays for tonight's slate. Maybe let me know how Monday's slate went for you. Me personally, I didn't cash Monday. I struggled again. The start of the NBA season has not been great for me, but we're looking ahead to Tuesday's slate. We're going to break down these 5 games. I do want to give a shout out though to PrizePicks before we get started. PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. If you guys want to check them out, they're linked down below in the description as well. Or whenever you sign up for PrizePicks, just make sure you use promo code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. Now, PrizePicks is a little bit different than DraftKings and FanDuel and Yahoo. They're more player prop based. So as you can see, they have projections for each player, point projections. For NBA, they have rebound, assist, 3-pointers made. I'm recording this video, like I said, on Monday night, so I'm recording it the night before the slate starts. They don't have any projections yet listed for Tuesday, but I'm sure they're going to add some, obviously later Monday night, and then Tuesday morning they'll have a lot of projections up. They'll have fantasy point projections and then player props as well. You just take the over or the under. You have to do at least 2 picks, but you can do up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money over on PrizePicks. So if you want to check them out, be sure to use promo code NOAH when you sign up for PrizePicks, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. But let's take a look at Tuesday's slate. Let's start off with the Sixers and the Knicks, first game on the slate. So looking at the Sixers here, once again, Joel Embiid is questionable for today. I think Joel Embiid has been questionable for almost every game this season, maybe except their first game of the year. I'm pretty sure he's been questionable their last 2 games, and he's played both of their 2 games. So I'm assuming that Embiid, once again, will be out there Tuesday night. At 9,800, I think Embiid is a good play on this slate. Now, ranking the studs, there's a lot of good options. It's a 5-game slate, but we got Curry, we got Luka, we got Jokic, we got Julius Randle, we got the Lakers guys. There's plenty of pay-up options today. I don't think Embiid's my favorite overall. I think I prefer like Curry, Jokic, and maybe even Julius Randle for cheaper. We're going to talk about him in a second. There's other studs I think I'd prefer over Embiid today. Embiid hasn't been great to start the season. I know it's only been 3 games. We haven't seen a massive game from Embiid yet, but he's still a guy that has massive upside. He still has over a 30% usage rate this season. He's still averaging 1.64 fantasy points per minute so far this year. I think Embiid's a good play. Obviously, you can always play Joel Embiid. Am I going to play Joel Embiid in my main lineup? Probably not, just because I think there are other studs I do prefer. But Embiid's definitely a GPP option, and I think he will be somewhat low-owned on this shorter slate. Then you have Tobias Harris at 8K. Without Ben Simmons, both obviously Embiid and Harris have been benefiting. Tobias Harris, we haven't really seen any massive games from him either. Both him and Embiid have kind of been underperforming so far. I thought with Ben Simmons out these first few games, we would just see Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid, smashing almost every night. Hasn't really been the case, but still at 8K. We know Tobias Harris has upside. We know without Ben Simmons, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for him. You expect Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid to really dominate the usage while Simmons remains out. So I think Tobias Harris is fine at 8K. I think him and Embiid are GPP options, though I don't think they're going to be like core plays for me or anything. Tyrese Maxey at 6K. His price has gotten to a point where I don't think he really stands out that much. He's still getting big minutes, and I think with Shake Milton and Ben Simmons both out while they're still out, we're going to get like 34, 36 minutes a night from Maxey. But he's priced correctly. At 6K, I don't think he stands out that much either. Really, there's not too much I love from the Sixers. Seth Curry's priced all the way up to 5,900. Even though he's been playing well to start the year, I don't love him at that price point. Danny Green's only 4K. This slate right now, looking at it on Monday night, there is not much value on this slate. So if we're going to get Danny Green at 4K, Danny Green's probably going to play like 28, 30 minutes. It's Danny fucking Green. Nobody wants to play this dude, but he's 4K and he's going to play 30 minutes. And on this slate, we don't really have a ton of value. So I think Danny Green's actually playable if you want to go there, but really the Sixers are not a team I have much interest in today. I think Embiid and Harris are clearly the best plays here, but I don't consider them like core options for me. I think they're more just like GPP plays. I think they're priced correctly on this slate. But then you get to the Knicks side. There's a little bit more that I have interest in here. First off, Julius Randle, 9,500. Julius Randle, he's expensive, but he has been absolutely dominating so far this season. Through 3 games, 62, 48, and 68 DraftKings points, playing massive minutes. The Boston game, I'm pretty sure, went to double overtime. So obviously, 46 minutes, that's not going to happen again. But 30 minutes in a blowout against Orlando, 38 minutes the game after that. Like, Julius Randle was playing heavy minutes last year, and I think this year he's going to play heavy minutes again. He might even lead the league in minutes at the end of the season. I think we're going to get like 36 to 40 minutes a night from Julius Randle. The matchup against the Sixers is not the best, but without Ben Simmons, their defense is a little bit worse. Joel Embiid's still a really good defender. He'll still, be in the paint to clog up the paint, but Julius Randle is just a super high upside player. He's a high usage player. He's a guy that can contribute in all categories. Gonna take a ton of shots, gonna get rebounds, can get you assists, can get defensive stats too. I mean, he literally does everything. He's just a stat sheet stuffer. And again, he's gonna play big minutes as well. I wanted to look at his usage so far this year. I know it's a really small sample size, but let's see. So far this year, through 114 minutes played, Julius Randle, 32.6% usage rate, averaging 1.53 fantasy points per minute. So, what's not to like Randle in my opinion? 9,500, or what's not to like about Randle in my opinion? 9,500 still might be a little bit too cheap with how well he's playing, with just how he's scoring and rebounding, with how many minutes he's getting. He might be one of my favorite studs early on, and I don't think he's going to get a ton of ownership on the slate. I'll be very interested to see how he projects in the projection models. I'll be very interested to see what his ownership projection is. At 9,500 at first look, I definitely like Julius Randle, and I like him on Yahoo as well, $44 at power forward. I think he's one of my favorite power forwards on Yahoo too, if you can fit him in there. But then when you look at the rest of the Knicks, there's not too much else that stands out from New York. I haven't really been on any of these secondary Knicks pieces so far this year. I think Mitchell Robinson's a fine play at 5,400, but I'm definitely worried about this matchup against Embiid, and I'm worried about foul trouble for Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's always been someone that has really struggled with foul trouble. The last 2 games, last game against Orlando, he fouled out in 33 minutes. The game before that, he got 5 fouls in 28 minutes. We know Joel Embiid is one of the best centers at drawing fouls. If you told me that Mitchell Robinson would not get in foul trouble, I would like him a lot at 5,400, because if he plays 30, 35 minutes, he is very likely to, blow this price out of the water. He's got 35, 40 point upside, but the foul trouble, man, it really scares me here. The matchup's not great. I think Mitchell Robinson's a risky option, but he's a high upside play and someone that I do like in tournaments. He's probably my second favorite play from the Knicks behind Julius Randle. And then Kemba Walker, man, the price tag is so low, but he's just been terrible so far this year with the Knicks. His usage rate is not high at all. I mean, he has a 17% usage rate, which is just really low, averaging 0.72 fantasy points per minute. I know it's only a 3-game sample size, but, man, Kemba Walker has just not been good with the Knicks so far. He's kind of like in a timeshare with Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickley. Both those guys are, going to take minutes from Kemba. Even at that really low price, I just can't go there. So, for me, from the Knicks, I like Julius Randle. I like Mitchell Robinson, although Robinson's a little bit of a riskier option. And that's probably it for this team, I think, on this slate. So, next game, we'll talk about the Warriors and the Thunder. On the Warriors at the top here with Steph Curry at 11K. Steph is the most expensive player on the slate, but it's hard to argue against it with how well he has played this season. He's getting a ton of opportunity, as you would expect. He's dominating the usage for this Warriors team. I wanted to pull up his usage as well. Again, it's only a 3-game sample, but so far this year, Curry, 33.7% usage rate, averaging 1.54 fantasy points per minute. He's just doing it all. He's playing a ton of minutes. We know Curry's going to take a ton of shots. He's going to contribute with peripherals as well. I mean, he got a triple-double first game of the season, 10 rebounds the next game after that, 10 assists the game after that. Like, not only is Curry scoring a ton, he's also getting a lot of rebounds and a lot of assists as well. He just stuffed in the stat sheet this year. He's got a high usage rate. He's playing big minutes. He's another stud that just is doing everything right now. The only issue is that Curry is really expensive, and the price tag is tough to get to on this slate because there's just no value right now. There's no cheap plays I love, but I think Curry is one of the best stud options if you can fit him in. It's going to be really hard to play multiple studs on this slate unless a lot of value opens up. So like if you're playing Julius Randle, it's going to be hard to get Curry in with him, but I still think Curry is a really good option, and Curry's definitely one of my favorite pay-ups right up there with Julius Randle. Then you got Draymond Green at 7,100. Draymond on this slate, I don't think I'm going to get to. He has seen his minutes come up. They said he was going to be on a minutes limit first game of the season. He only played 30 minutes, but the last 2 games he's played 34 minutes. So if we're going to get like 34, 35 minutes from Draymond, he has upside at 7,100, but he's priced correctly in my opinion. I think Jordan Poole's probably my second favorite play from Golden State. He's only 5,900 on DraftKings. I think this is a slate where the mid-range is going to be something we try and focus on. The 5 to 7K range is where we're going to find a lot of our plays for today. There's just not much, below 5K. There's not much cheap value to go to. So a guy like Jordan Poole at 5,900, I do have interest in. His minutes the first 2 games this year were only 20. He only played 25 minutes the first 2 games, but I thought that was just really fluky. I didn't think that was going to be something that happened every game. And surely enough, last game he gets back to what I expected. 32 minutes, played well, scored 38 DraftKings points. He's a high usage player. He's got the second highest usage rate on the Warriors so far this season, only behind Steph Curry. He's averaged over a fantasy point per minute. Probably plays a little bit over 30 minutes. Good matchup against a bad Thunder team. I like Jordan Poole a good amount on DK, and he is pretty cheap on Yahoo too if you want to go to him there. Jordan Poole only $16 at the shooting guard position. I like him on both sides. Probably my second favorite play from Golden State. And then I think that's it for this Thunder team. Not Thunder, but the Warriors. There's not much else I like here. It's really just Curry and Poole for me, and I think that's probably it from Golden State. So other side of this game with OKC. Good matchup here for the Thunder. So far this season, Golden State, I know it's a small sample, but they are playing at the fastest pace in the league. So this is definitely a pace-up spot for the Thunder. The Thunder have been playing really slow. They're towards the bottom of the league in pace. So, a guy like SGA has a lot of upside here. The only issue and only concern I have with SGA is that, we never know what his minutes are going to be like because the Thunder are just going to get the shit beat out of them a lot this season. First game of the season, they lost by 21 against Utah. They got the crap beat out of them against Houston in their second game of the year. But then last game, they finally were able to keep a game close, only lost by 12. And SGA played 39 minutes. So the minutes are going to be there if the Thunder can keep the game close. That is always a concern. But if you're playing Curry and you're assuming that Curry plays his full minutes, it makes sense to maybe run it back with SGA. And normally in NBA, when I'm making NBA lineups, I don't really run it back or, I don't really game stack or try and correlate my lineups or anything. But I think this is one scenario where if you're playing a lot of Warriors guys, you probably want to have some exposure to the Thunder side because in order for the Warriors guys to get there, either they're going to have to just smash in 3 quarters or it's going to have to be a competitive game. So SGA I do like at 8,100. I just, you got to hope that the Thunder can keep the game close. If they can, it's probably going to be because of SGA. But then you have Josh Giddey at 5,800. Josh Giddey was really, really cheap to start the season, but now his price tag has come way up, especially after he had a big game last game. Put up 47 DK points in 34 minutes against the Sixers. First round pick for the Thunder. I expect this guy to be used pretty heavily in their offense. I expect him to be someone that consistently plays, over 30 minutes on a nightly basis. But again, his price has come up to 5,800. That's the one thing I will say about about DK today. The pricing is just really accurate. There's not a ton of glaring values. There's not a ton of guys that you see as just being way too cheap. The pricing's very, very correct today. It's very tight, I should say. So it's a tough slate for sure. We're gonna have to wait and see what kind of news comes out if we do get like any value. But Giddey, I would like if he was cheaper, but at 5,800, he feels priced correctly. Nothing else from OKC really stands out. Derek Favors is out for this game, so we might want to check what the Thunder starting lineup looks like. I'm pretty sure last time Favors was not in the starting lineup. They went with Isaiah Roby. That day that Isaiah Roby started over Favors, he only played 14 minutes. So even if Isaiah Roby starts in place of Favors, I don't feel very confident in him. But maybe they would do something else. Maybe they start Mike Muscala. Maybe they would start Robinson Earl. We don't really know. But keep an eye on the Thunder starting lineup. With Derek Favors out, we could see a change there. That could maybe give us some value depending on who starts. But we can go ahead and move on to the next game, I think. Talk about Houston and Dallas. So in Houston today, Christian Wood at 8,400. Another guy that just feels priced correctly. I don't think Christian Wood is a glaring value at this price point. I think he's gonna project decent at 8,400. He probably projects for 40-ish DK points, low 40s in DK points. But I don't know if that's really good enough at 8,400. At this price point, I'm looking for 50 plus from Christian Wood. Now, can Christian Wood go out there and put up a 50-point game? He can absolutely do that any night. But he feels priced about right. At 8,400, I don't love Christian Wood on this slate. Kevin Porter Jr. at 6,800, another guy that feels priced right. Houston's not a very good team. They're another team you kind of have to worry about when it comes to getting blown out. Hopefully they can keep this game close to where you get full minutes from Wood and KPJ, but neither one of them stand out to me on this slate. I don't like much from this Rockets team. Jalen Green was cheap to start the year, but his price has now gotten way up to 6,100 after he had a big game last game. I think Jalen Green is going to have a lot of good games this season, but at 6,100, he is another guy that feels priced correctly. I don't think he's like a glaring play at this price point, but still at least playable because he's going to get big minutes. The opportunity is going to be there for him. But really, there's no standout plays from Houston. Houston's not a team I have that much interest in on this slate overall. Moving on to the other side, though, and talking about the Mavs. When it comes to this Mavs team, it's very simple for me, and it's going to be this way most of the year. It's Luka, it's Porzingis, and that's really it. Like, I just never play Tim Hardaway. I never play Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, the only time I ever consider these guys is when either Luka or Porzingis are out. With Luka and Porzingis healthy, they're the only guys I have interest in from Dallas. Luka at 10,900, obviously a good play. Now, between Luka, between Steph, between Jokic, like, how are you going to prioritize those guys, plus Embiid, plus Randall? There's a lot of studs. I think Luka's probably like my third or fourth favorite stud behind Curry, behind Randall, and maybe behind Jokic as well. We know Luka has a ton of upside. We know it's a good matchup against Houston. I don't expect Houston to be a very good defensive team this year. I mean, last season they were towards the bottom of the league in defensive rating. So far this season, where they are in defensive rating, let's see. It's a small sample. They've got the 10th best defensive rating, but again, we don't want to look too much into that. It is a small sample size. But Houston is at least playing at a top 10 pace so far this year, so it is a pretty nice pace-up spot here for the Mavs. I think Luka is a good pay-up option, but there are a few guys I would put ahead of him on this slate. And then Porzingis is 7,600. Porzingis going to get probably 33 to 35 minutes. The first game against Atlanta was a blowout. Last game, he only played 29 minutes, but I feel like most nights we're going to get more than that from Porzingis. He's not going to play only 29 minutes a night. He's going to play, low 30s, I think. Against Houston, this is definitely a good spot for Porzingis at 7,600. He's another guy that feels priced about right, but obviously Porzingis has upside and can put up 45, 50 DK points any night. He is still someone I do have interest in at 7,600. Probably more of a GPP option, not someone I'd be considering like in cash games or as a core play or anything, but Porzingis obviously playable, and that's probably it for this Dallas team for me. So next game, the Lakers and the Spurs. On the Lakers today, you got LeBron, AD, Westbrook at the top. 9,400 for LeBron, 9,200 for AD, and 9K for Westbrook. We'll start off with LeBron. Right now, he's probable. Even though DK has him listed as questionable, he is probable. He's expected to play come Tuesday. Assuming LeBron plays today, I don't think he's going to be someone that I get to a ton of. If I was playing a lot of lineups, if I was like max entering and playing 150 lineups, obviously I would get some exposure to LeBron. I would have LeBron in my player pool, but there's a handful of studs that we've already talked about that I do prefer over LeBron today. This Lakers team, when they're fully healthy, they're going to be a tough team to predict. It's going to be tough to predict when LeBron has a big game or AD has a big game. LeBron did really, really well in their first game this year. So did AD. AD's been playing solid. He's been consistent. He's playing big minutes. I think all the Lakers guys are playable because they all have a big ceiling. Like, nobody would be surprised if Westbrook put up a triple-double tonight. Nobody would be surprised if AD scored 60 DraftKings points. But it's going to be really tough to predict, which one of these guys puts up the big game on a nightly basis, if any of them do. I think, the Lakers bigs, the Lakers big three, I should say, are more of just like low-owned tournament options. I expect all of them will be pretty low-owned on this slate. I think there's other studs that just look better, personally. Like, I can't play LeBron at 9,400 when you have Julius Randle at 9,500, who's just doing everything for the Knicks, playing 40 minutes, taking a ton of shots, getting a ton of, peripherals. I can't play LeBron over him, or even, AD or Westbrook either. So these Lakers guys are just kind of secondary tournament options for me, just guys I would be, throwing in as just like low-owned pieces in my lineup. But then you got some other Lakers, that I guess we could talk about. There's not too much I love on this team, but like Carmelo Anthony, he's coming off a big game, but again, his price is up, man. 5,200 for Carmelo. That feels about right. I mean, Carmelo's going to play like 25, 28 minutes off the bench. He's going to consistently get minutes for this Lakers team. He is a guy that, when he's on the floor, he's not afraid to shoot. He's going to be someone that kind of demands the ball. He's a guy that does have upside if he's knocking down shots. Last game, he shot the ball really well. 66% from the field, 75% from three. That's why you saw such a good game from Carmelo. He has this kind of upside in him. Like, if Carmelo's making his shots, he can put up 35, 40 DK points. It's just a matter of if he can make his shots. At 5,200, though, I don't think Carmelo's like a standout play anymore. But I do want to talk about him on Yahoo because he is a lot cheaper over there. He's only $12 at power forward. I think if you're looking for a cheap paydown option on Yahoo, again, there's not much value today, but I do like Carmelo on Yahoo at $12. He's a lot cheaper there. I like him a lot more there than I do on DraftKings. But I'm not playing any other Lakers, I don't think. Like, the rest of this team is just, God, I just don't want to play any of these guys. Like, I'm not playing Kent Bazemore. I'm not playing Malik Monk. DeAndre Jordan, even though he starts, doesn't play enough minutes to be viable. So that's really it for the Lakers. We can go ahead and move on to San Antonio. And looking at the Spurs here, they might be my favorite team to target today. As gross as that it is to say, the Spurs are probably the most underpriced team on the slate. Not by much, but a guy like Dejounte Murray at only $7,300 might be a little bit too cheap for what we can expect from Dejounte Murray in terms of production. He's gonna obviously dominate the usage on the Spurs team with DeMar DeRozan no longer on the team. Obviously with LaMarcus Aldridge no longer on the team. Like, this is Dejounte Murray's team. He should be the guy that gets most of the usage. He should be the guy that has the ball in his hands the most, kind of really facilitates the offense. So far this season, he's got a 23.6% usage rate. He's averaging over a fantasy point per minute. He's playing 34, 35 minutes a night. And the Lakers this year, they have actually played at the second fastest pace in the league. Only behind the Warriors. So this Lakers team is actually playing really fast. Their defense, I don't think is going to, we'll see how they are. So far this year in defensive rating. Where are the Lakers at? They're bottom 10 in defensive rating. They were really good defensively last season. We'll have to see if that, it stays the same this year. But so far, the Lakers are playing at a fast pace this year. If that's the case, it's definitely going to be a good spot for some of these Spurs guys. I'll be interested to see what the total is in this game. I don't think we have a total yet for this game, but Dejounte Murray is $7,300. If we can get 34, 35 minutes from Dejounte Murray with him averaging over a fantasy point per minute this season, he projects for probably just over 40 DraftKings points, and it's $7,300. That is definitely too cheap for Dejounte Murray, in my opinion. So I like him a lot on DK, and I like him on Yahoo as well. He's pretty affordable there, $31. I don't think he gets a ton of ownership on Yahoo. Just, he feels priced correctly, in my opinion. There's also other guys you could play in that price range, like you have SGA at $33. You have Kevin Porter Jr. for a little bit cheaper. You got some other guys like Maxey's a little bit way down here at $19 you could play. But I do like Dejounte Murray at $31 on Yahoo. He's someone I have a good amount of interest in on both sides today. I think he's one of these guys that's kind of poised for a breakout year. He's gonna post a lot of big games this season. And against the Lakers here, who's playing fast this season, I do like this spot for Dejounte Murray at $7,300. Derek White at $6,500, I think is a fine option too. Now between White and Murray, I would rather play Dejounte Murray, but Derek White's going to get big minutes. We know Derek White can be pretty productive when he's on the floor. He's been pretty solid so far this season, over 30 DraftKings points in all three of their games. So I think Derek White's playable. I think Keldon Johnson's underpriced on DK at $5,200. Keldon Johnson's another guy that we should expect to play around 30 minutes, if not eclipse 30 minutes. So far this season, 28, 37, and 29 minutes for Keldon Johnson, 20, 40, and 28 DraftKings points. He's going to be kind of up and down. Some nights he'll put up big games. Some nights you're going to see a little bit of you're going to see him underperform, only put up like low 20s DK points, but at only $5,200, Keldon Johnson is still, somewhat of a productive player when he's on the floor. Now that DeMar DeRozan's no longer on the team, he should be more productive this season. He has averaged close to a fantasy point per minute so far this year. He's got a 25.8% usage rate. He's actually got the second highest usage rate on the Spurs so far this season through 3 games. For $5,200, again, the value on the slate's not great, so I think some of these guys in the 5K range are where we're going to be looking to. So I like Keldon Johnson a lot at $5,200, and I like not Dejounte Murray, but Jakob Poeltl too, $5,600. Jakob Poeltl's another guy that's been getting consistent minutes, and again, I think he plays probably low 30s, if not mid 30s in minutes. He's been productive when he's on the floor. He's always been a pretty productive player when he does get minutes. The minutes have consistently been there. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble, he should play probably 30, 35 minutes on a nightly basis, and he's only $5,600. A fantasy point per minute player playing 30-plus minutes for only $5,600, like, I will take that on a slate like this where there's not a ton of standout plays. So Jakob Poeltl's someone I like on DraftKings, and you can definitely play him on Yahoo as well. $22 at center. The center position, if you're not paying up for Embiid or Jokic or going to like Christian Wood, you got Rudy Gobert too, but I never play Rudy Gobert. $22 for Jakob Poeltl. I do like him on Yahoo as well. But then some other Spurs, I don't know if there's too much else I like from this team. Like Doug McDermott for $4,500 coming off the bench. Probably plays around 30 minutes if you want to go there. That's fine. Doug McDermott's a guy that's, he's got to hit his shots to really get there. But last game he shot the ball well, had a big game. If he's knocking down shots, you can definitely catch a ceiling game from Doug McDermott, but more of a GPP flyer. That's really it from San Antonio. I think my main interests here are the starters, really. So, Keldon Johnson, Dejounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl. Derek White. Those are the guys I have the main interest in. But that's probably it for San Antonio. So last game of the night, we'll talk about Denver and Utah. So on the Denver side here, when it comes to this Denver team, Nikola Jokic, basically every single slate is going to be a good pay-up option. I will say that this is, a tougher matchup against Utah and Rudy Gobert. It's not the best spot for Jokic. Utah's always been a pretty solid defensive team. They've always been a team that plays relatively slow. But we know Jokic has massive upside. We know Jokic can put up a big game any night. I would prefer probably Julius Randle, Steph, maybe even Luka on the slate. It would definitely be close for me between Luka and Jokic. But Jokic, I love him as a player. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I think you can play him almost any slate. But is he a top stud for me today? I don't think so, just with how this slate's kind of shaking out. The rest of the Denver guys, man, I haven't really bet on many of these secondary Denver pieces this year. Will Barton at 5,700 on this slate I think is actually fine. He's going to play 32, 34 minutes. He's probably going to give you 30, 35 DK points at 5,700. You'll definitely take that, I think, on this slate. I don't mind Will Barton. I don't mind MPJ either. MPJ is a guy that's he's a headache to roster. Some nights he'll put up 40 DraftKings points. Some nights he'll completely shit the bed and put up 20 DK points. His game log is going to fluctuate. He's going to be someone that busts a lot. He's going to be someone that puts up ceiling games a lot. You never know what you're going to get from MPJ. If you want to go there, I think he's fine. But really, Jokic is kind of the standout player from Denver. The rest of these guys are just kind of secondary pieces for me. Monte Morris is kind of cheap, 4,400. He hasn't been great this year, but he is starting, and he's going to play probably 30 minutes, if not close to 30 minutes. For only 4,400, I don't mind him as a cheap value, especially with the lack of value that we have on this slate. So I guess I would, I do want to mention him. But that's it for Denver. Now on the Utah side, there really isn't much I like from Utah either. When Utah's fully healthy, I rarely just play any of these guys. And being honest, Donovan Mitchell, I haven't even considered this season. He hasn't been in any of my lineups so far. At least, my main lineup that I've played each slate, I haven't played Donovan Mitchell at all this year. So far, he hasn't been great. We know Mitchell can have a good game any night. Am I going to play Mitchell on this slate? Probably not. Same with Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert can have a big game any night. He's been consistent this year. He's been getting points and rebounds. He's been doing what you expect him to do. He's a guy that's going to consistently give you a double-double. He's always a guy that can block shots as well. But Rudy Gobert is never someone that just goes out there and breaks a slate. Rarely does Rudy Gobert put up 55, 60 DK points. And now that I say that, he'll probably do that tonight. But Rudy Gobert feels priced right. Donovan Mitchell feels priced right. Nobody from Utah stands out to me. Overall, this game I just don't really have that much interest in. It should be a pretty slow-paced, low-scoring game. I think there's tournament plays here like Jokic and Mitchell and Gobert. I think if you want to sprinkle those guys in, they're totally fine. But am I going to start my lineup with anyone from this game? Probably not, unless some news changes anything. So yeah, guys, that does it for Tuesday's slate. That does it for the game-by-game breakdown for these 5 games. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, click that like button down below. Click that subscribe button as well. And comment and let me know some of your favorite plays for tonight's slate. Let me know how your Monday went. Were you able to make any cash on Monday? As always, guys, I'm reading the comment section. I'm replying to every comment. I always appreciate your guys' comments and feedback. And lastly, check out PrizePicks if you have not yet. There's a sponsor of this video. If you want to check out PrizePicks, use promo code NOAH. When you sign up over there, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. Again, I'm recording this video on Monday night, so they don't have any player props or any projections listed yet for Tuesday's slate, but obviously they will post those later Monday night, and then early Tuesday morning you will see a lot of projections up. Very simple on PrizePicks. Just take the over or the under. Find some projections you like. Whichever way you want to lean, over or the under. You can take that on PrizePicks, and you can win up to 10x your money there. Make sure when you sign up, use promo code NOAH. You get your first deposit matched up to $100. But best of luck on Tuesday's slate, guys. I appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck, fellas. Peace.